How you doing? This is Andy and Chase from the Andy Scott School of Golf here at Par for Fitness. We want to talk a little bit about post-round details that you might do after a tournament round to get prepared for the next round. And I'm going to lean on Chase here to kind of give us some details on how he approached what he did after the round, or if he did anything after the round to get ready for the next.
Yeah, Andy, most of the time I did. If I felt like anything needed to be refined or practiced just a little bit, I would do that, but I wouldn't go too crazy.
Okay.
Because I think one of the most important things when you're getting ready for another round, let's say you're in, it could be as small of a tournament as a member guest or a club championship, or you could be on the PGA Tour. I think the most important things in any of those tournaments are saving your mental energy for the next round.
Right.
So unless something is absolutely way off kilter, I think you'd be better off to just leave the course and save that mental energy.
I would say what we did is we would finish the round, go eat, recharge our batteries, and most of the time we'd head back and work on one of the areas we weren't happy about with the round.
Yeah, just a quick brush up, right?
And it might be 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then we'd feel good to go get some rest. Now on days where things were a little off with either putting, chipping, pitching, full swing, we might go a little extra. We might refine that, get after it until you kind of felt like, okay, Droid, I feel good. Everything feels like I'm ready for the next round. So I think it's a lot dependent on where you're at during the round. If you have a great round, sometimes you don't have to get out there and put extra energy into something that you know you did really well.
I completely agree.
How many times did that happen to you?
Where I just left the golf course?
Where you're like, that was a good round. I'm pretty good to go.
I would say 1 of every 5 rounds.
Okay. So for the most part, you're going to be doing something after the round.
Yes, just a quick, they call it a cool down.
Okay, but you're not going to go straight to the range. You're going to give yourself some time.
You got to leave the course,
to wind down
decompress, get in a good mental state to be able to practice, and then go practice.
Good. So describe to them details of, let's just say you're having some issues, missing some shots to the right with your full swing. You didn't like how your driver was behaving and some of your long irons. What would be your way of getting those kind of dialed in a little bit before the next round?
Well,
How would you go about it?
Yeah, right. One of the most important things I think in golf and trying to improve is really knowing your own swing inside and out. Okay, because I did this and I knew my swing inside and out, typically I would know what was going on without having to talk to you in case you weren't even there.
Right.
Right. So I knew my swing inside and out, and I knew if I was seeing a certain pattern of a ball flight, I knew what was going on with my swing. And I think that's very important for everybody out there to know their swing inside and out.
Yeah. So when you saw those problems on the course, sometimes you can't really try to make adjustments midstream. You might be able to make some setup adjustments, but you're not going to try to swing differently. You're just going to play with what you got.
Well, it's kind of like the old saying goes, you got to dance with the girl you brought.
Correct.
Right. And sometimes I was playing a push cut, and I had no choice but to play that because I didn't want to fool around with too many other things, and it could make my misses even worse.
Correct. So that was something I noticed that you did very well. You didn't try to change anything drastically during the round, but you try to fine tune it and figure it out on the range afterwards. And how would you do that? Would you lay sticks down? Would you go through your routine like a normal shot if you were trying to fix something?
Right. I would do a little bit of both.
Okay.
I would do a little bit of block practice and then a little bit of play practice, mix it in, and mainly play practice would follow block practice once I got the feeling I was trying to achieve.
So you put the sticks down, get it to a target, and then start grinding on whatever that weakness
Absolutely.
might have been.
Without a doubt.
What about, let's say, struggled with putting? After you missed a few short putts, or your speed was off. How would you go about post round preparing for
this
next
is
round?
another point I wanted to make is everyone out there, they need a go-to drill for every single part of their game. It might be a go-to drill, it might be a training aid that they really like. They need something like that to fall back on every time they don't feel good about their game or an aspect of their game, to go back to the practice facility and really grind on that training aid or the drill that they really love, and usually gets them back on track.
Yeah, I'd say one of the things we always did was the T drill, or the staggered T drill. If you putted poorly and didn't feel like you're hitting it in the sweet spot, you always put that down,
Absolutely.
kind of get that going. You start feeling some confidence, and we go in and out of that drill.
Totally.
And before you know it, you're starting to feel some things you weren't feeling on the course.
And with the full swing, Andy, it was typically a punch extension. So I know right off the top of my head and it's been a while since I played in a professional tournament. I know right off the top of my head, still to this day, what my go-to drills are.
Right.
And I wish everybody else would really kind of hone in on a go-to drill.
Well, you're lucky because you had a strong model, swing model, and which was very consistent. So you knew when things got off, there wasn't really a whole lot of things that needed to be fixed. It was
Correct.
just details and what we need to focus on that might be just a little out of position or out of order.
Right.
So it wasn't a lot of, I have to do something for 5 months to get this fixed. It was usually a pretty quick tweak, and once you fixed the kinks, things started to fall in place pretty nicely. I remember one time during a pre-round, practice round, we were on the golf course. We weren't hitting it the best, but I knew what you had to do to fix the problem, but I did not tell you. And there was a reason why I didn't tell you.
Well,
And what did you learn from that?
that was one of the best learning experiences of my life. So to backtrack here and tell you kind of the story a little deeper from my perspective is we played a 9-hole practice round. It was one of my Q schools. It might have been the second stage of Q school. I was hitting it absolutely awful, and Andy was there, and he wasn't telling me what was going on, and I was getting pretty frustrated because he wasn't telling me, and I knew he knew, but he wouldn't tell me. And it ended up being one of the best lessons I've ever learned in my life, because what it proved to me was, well, actually, I shot 2 under on that 9.
Right.
Hit it absolutely terrible. Shot 2 under in that 9, and Andy told me after the 9 holes it was a little bit of a grip issue. And he said, I wanted to withhold that from you so I could prove to you that you could shoot under par without hitting it your absolute best. So that was one of the best lessons I've ever learned.
He's like, Troy, I would have shot 6 under if you would have told me.
Right.
I said, but sometimes learning that when you don't have your best or you don't have your A game and you can still shoot a good number, that's pretty powerful, because you're not going to be able to hit it perfect all the time. We know that in golf, but at a tour level, these guys can shoot low numbers and not even be close to their A game. And that's what I was trying to teach him that particular day, even though it was hard for me not to tell him. But that's sometimes what a teacher has to deliver to the student, is a learning lesson.
And same goes for everybody else out there. You might not be hitting it absolutely perfect on the range, but you can still put together a very quality round by just thinking through your round correctly and having a good short game.
Absolutely. So for post-round advice, you would say, don't have to do it always. Maybe work on your weakness, but don't go crazy for 2-3 hours unless something's really wrong. Save your energy, because that next round needs energy to perform at your highest.
It's like a cool down. If you're in the gym, you have a very intense workout. You go to the treadmill after and walk for 5 minutes.
There you go.
That's all that a post round needs to be.
And don't do it right after the round. Give yourself time to decompress.
Absolutely.
Then jump back out there and maybe do a little bit of work. And then that next round, we should see some improvements with not only your physicality, but belief in what you've got going on.
Absolutely, and you couldn't have said it better myself.
Awesome. Get out there and think about that next time you finish a round, and go work on that post-round result.